This is WFO Radio.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to WFO Radio, NHRA podcast in general. I'm Joe Castello. If you're out there on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, welcome to the show. We're going to go WFO for about an hour or so, and we've got some great guests on the show. We have got REVan Evan Smith going to be on this show. He is a renowned journalist and driver, and he got a shout out on our NHRA podcast with Alan Reinhardt earlier this week. We were talking about what a great clutch driver he is, and then we got to talking, and it's like, hey, why don't you come on the show here on Thursday? And so we're going to speak with Evan, talk a little bit about the brand new, just dropped Cobra Jet 1400 all-electric drag race car. How crazy is that? Evan going to be with us. Also on the show, Eric Lane, co-crew chief of the Snap-on Tools Nitro Funny Car for Cruise Pedregon. He's staying busy up there in Brownsburg, Indiana. Going to be very, very cool. We're going to catch up with Eric and see what he is doing and have a little fun. He's a friend of WFO and been everywhere, done everything. He's had great success. And so we'll speak with Eric on the show. Also, Justin Collier, who is a Pro Stock Motorcycle crew member, who is also an innovator and has actually created some things for the medical professionals out there working and having to wear the PPE and the masks. And he's actually created something. We're going to demonstrate it here on the show. So if you're out there, start a watch party. We're going to have a whole lot of fun, and we're going to get going. And it is all because of a couple of great sponsors like Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School and the Dragster Adventure that they do. Enables you to drive a dragster for very little money and even race against your friends. Talking about Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. They are doing a special right now, 20% discount for DIY racers. And we do a podcast for them called Hidden Horsepower, just about to drop a new episode with John Kazi. And to hear these engine builders talk about how great the relationship is with Total Seal pretty much does it for me. But the bottom line is, if you're building an engine and you are spending a lot of money on whatever, intake manifold, cylinder heads, or otherwise, you better get the ring seal right, and they do it right. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Brian Massengill and the team. Listen, we were getting ready for the big Samtech.edu factory stock showdown launch down there in Gainesville. Right now, it's scheduled for June 5th through 7th when we are all back at the track, hopefully. But bottom line is, the next generation of engine builders and machinists have got to come from somewhere. And you might be bummed out and you're at home and you don't know what you're going to do. But if you're a relatively young person and you're thinking about how to get the education that you need to go into the world of high-performance engine building, samtech.edu can get you started. Marvin Rodak, Rodak's Coffee and Grills.com. I got my Rodak's coffee. I'm fired up. I got my Rodak's mug. I'm fired up. And yeah, you don't show the coffee without taking a sip. Only on Fridays, folks. Only on Fridays when we have our Friday cocktails. But Marvin is roasting great coffee, and it's gourmet stuff. Barbecue sauces, spice rubs, everything. Marvin Rodak has been tremendous. And MagicDryUS.com. Had Scott Palmer on Friday cocktails last week along with Angie Smith. Had such a great time. It was tremendous. And it is in the archive. You can go listen to the audio on the podcast archive, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and you can watch the video right here on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, and we're streaming everywhere. Of course, I am Joe Castello. And let's get to our guest without further ado as we get going again, and then we'll get to some of the comments. He got a name drop on the show. He's a friend at the track. Like, there's all these people that you interact with and you see and you're happy to see. And he is like one of the greats. But I know him as guys carrying the camera all the time. Joining us now, Mr. REVan Evan Smith. Evan, welcome to WFO Live. How are you?
Hey, Joe. What's cracking?
Oh, man, I'm just, we're trying to extend Tuesday into Thursday into Sunday and then do it all again. We are like, it's a horrible version of Groundhog Day. Every day, pretty much the same. What about you?
It's fighting off the boredom. I got still some writing to do for National Dragster and for Holly. I do some writing for Holly right now, which is pretty neat. So I'm staying busy with that stuff, talking a lot of drag racing with my friends, seeing some of the fun stuff on Facebook, some of the ways people are entertaining. Brian Lois is doing a great job with some of his funny videos. And obviously got some great news today. Ford dropped the info on that electric Cobra Jet.
What is up with that? Let's get into it. I want to talk about many different things with you, including trying to extract some training on clutch driving. And I'll tell you my story when we do that. But, the word is that you are one of the best, like, hot shoe, test driver. You want to go fast, you get Evan. But you're full of knowledge. But let's talk. This is brand new information. We all remember the eCopo last year and all the interesting stuff it did. When it ran in the nines, everybody was blown away. Ford is coming out with their version now, and it is the Cobra Jet 1400, supposedly 8-second ET slips. How cool is that?
It's awesome. I made a Facebook post about it this morning, and reading the comments, as expected, some positive, some negative, not a whole lot of neutral. People either love it or hate it. I love internal combustion. I don't think there's anything that quite sounds like a high REVan V8, but we gotta accept technology. It's what makes the world kind of keep moving forward. And I don't ever foresee a day, at least in our lifetimes, where we don't have internal combustion. But you might have an electric car in the garage, and we're probably going to want to hop it up. So if Ford or GM with Chevy is going to do the dirty work for us, kind of call it, and show us how to go fast, why not?
Right. And that's, you can't fight technology. There was the guy, he had the best buggy whip in the world. And don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing our thoroughbred race engines to a buggy whip, because it's its own unique thing. There's all kinds of hobbies built around it. So I really think that drag racing in many ways is going to be insulated. But there are people who want to play with electric cars. They think they're neat. These Tesla people are nuts. I do street drags at Homestead Miami Speedway, and these 19-year-old girls are there, and they're like, they know about dual motor. And I'm like, yeah, dual motor. And I don't know what the heck they're talking about, because I'm a fuel and gas kind of guy. But this is the way of the world. So Ford is getting in on it, and that is great.
Yeah, there was a guy on Drag Week. Talked to Kevin McKenna. He boasts about it. Guy going 1040s or 1060s with a Tesla. Our buddy in the industry, Mark Gerhardt, has been doing a lot of road race type stuff and some drag racing with his Tesla. So the potential for performance is there. It's really, to me, about, can you live without the sound of that engine, the interaction, the tuning of the engine per se, if that's something that you're into. Not that you can't tune electric motors, because certainly you can. But there's a line in the sand there between the two types of technologies as to what people like or don't like. And that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I think we've seen it before. We see it in Top Alcohol Dragster when the nitro cars came in. There's a rivalry. I like it. If it was up to me, and I understand why, but I'd find a spot in Competition Eliminator for electrics. I would put them out on the track with and against the internal combustion cars and figure it out. And if eventually they have some sort of amazing advantage or something, we'd figure it out. But I'd like to entertain a few of those cars. It's never going to be that many. I think electrics are ultimately going to be what you used to go to the grocery store. You go over there, you go to the mall with the electric car. When you have a performance car, you'll probably still want your gasoline engine. But who knows? What do I know?
No doubt about it. I agree. There's room for everything.
There's room for everything. So you got some people checking in. We got Lori is out there. She's saying a shout out to Evan, and Diane Bender-Smith is out there saying what's up to Evan. He is the best driver ever. Let's talk about that, Evan. Okay. Now, a lot of people agree. In road course racing, we just saw Ford versus Ferrari. I want to ask you about that. But, they picked a guy who was going to be the guy, Ken Miles, going to be the guy that got him the goal. He's the goal. And I've heard your name dropped as the guy when it comes to drag racing, especially with a clutch. So tell us about your, is that true? And how'd you get that label?
I don't really know if it's true, but so a lot of things came into place. In college, I had my 5-liter Mustang. Couldn't really afford to break the car, but loved to go fast. So I really worked on learning how to drive, how to get out of the hole, how to power shift. with a street car and get the most out of the car, kind of in the spirit of Stock Eliminator, getting the most out of my driving and out of the car and fine tuning and refining without having to put slicks on the car, because that was kind of a guarantee that you're going to break the transmission and or the axles, which I couldn't afford to do because I needed my car to get back and forth to school. I was working at Raceway Park at Englishtown at the time, and I couldn't afford it because I was a poor college student, so I wouldn't have been able to really afford to fix the thing if I broke it. So, you know, and I guess to a degree, I guess I have a little bit of a knack for it, and I refined it over the years. And then getting the job at the magazine at Muscle Mustangs and Fast Fords, and then having access to the track and access to just testing and driving and constantly driving cars and testing cars, I got just enough, you know, over and over and over again, seat time and practice, and just refine the craft of, you know, launching and shifting with street tires, which is completely different than driving a stock eliminator car with a stick shift or a super stocker, where, you know, the car does most of the work. Yeah, you got to be good as far as shifting on time and things like that, but rowing a vertigate back and forth is quite a lot different than, you know, you being the traction control, letting the clutch out properly, and then hitting all the gears in an H pattern with a synchronized transmission is a completely different thing when compared to driving, you know, a modern stick shift transmission.
All right, well, let's watch you in action. In car, it's a little old school in terms of the video footage, but I think it's going to work. So walk us through what we're seeing here. When was this? 1993 SVT Cobra clone Mustang.
Right, so this is in car in my stock eliminator car. This is at Go Raceway in New Jersey,
right by Bob Fry's house.
Yep, people will recognize it. A whopping 3 megapixel video. So the footage and the audio isn't great, but so this is a stock eliminator car. So I just went from first to third there, getting the tires wet, do a burnout. This is on my YouTube, isn't it?
Yeah, this is right off your YouTube, baby.
Yep. So check to make sure the water pump is on and the fan. Put it back into first gear. This was during what we ran up there as junior stock. We had a Pro Tree heads-up class at the National Opens.
How high you bringing it up?
11-pound weight break.
Yeah.
Now I look over for Steve Focacci Jr. And there you go. I think that was about a 1080 run right there, about 120.
That was tremendous. How about it? You could hear the gear winding down. And that's why I love stock eliminators so much. I'm a bracket guy. I let go of a button, the car launches, and I like the ride, don't get me wrong, but now I got an air shifter. I'm trying to run exactly the same time. What you're doing in there, winding up the engine, snatching loose the clutch, going through the gears in the air, you don't know where you're going. Hopefully you're going straight. Like that is, it takes courage, and there's a whole level of skill there that just it separates the men from the boys, so to speak.
I think a lot of times I've told myself I was not so smart for running that combination, but it was a lot of fun to drive.
Oh, really? My friend Doug Parlamento out there, I remember Evan from my Steeda racing days. Doug has been a big help to me over the years. He's a West Palm Beach guy, and he remembers you. No, you got a whole crew out there.
Oh, wow, I haven't heard that name in a while. Hey, Doug.
Oh, you know Doug?
Oh, sure.
I hear Doug is an excellent driver as well, like very capable. I know him as a bracket racer, so, letting go of the button and running the top end and everything. But I've been crazy sideways in a Corvette a couple of times with Doug. The rest of the story I can't say. But, out in Miami, those kind of things. But
I think he was sponsored by Steeda for a while back in the Fun Ford days.
Yeah, Steeda was a big name. That was an era, right? Like when the Mustang was really the only performance car, because the Camaros and the Firebirds, mid 80s, they were too heavy and underpowered. Everybody had the 5.0 Fox body Mustang that I knew. Working at Miami Hollywood, it was like hundreds of them, just nonstop.
I grew up on GM cars from a GM family, but couldn't resist the lure of the 5-liter Mustang. It was lighter, it was cheaper, had the V8 in the stick, and I was sold. Ended up getting one.
He says, good to see you on here. And for me, some things better left untold. And I agree. That is true. So that was it. You grew up a GM guy, because I've always kind of known you as a Ford guy. It was that Mustang that pulled you over.
That was it, man. The order goes like this: 71 GTO, 404 speed.
All right.
269 Firebirds, a 71 Camaro, and then the Mustang.
So really, you're a Pontiac guy. Like,
I love Pontiacs.
Right?
I do.
That's my brand. If I have a brand anymore, we got a 78 sitting in the garage. Little work needs to be done. The listeners are annoyed by hearing that I'm not in there working on it right now instead of talking to all of everybody. But it's unfortunate. It's gone. Like Pontiac. Ugh, very sad.
Yep, nothing but Mustangs for me now. But that doesn't rule out that I might own one in the future. I would. My dream car, as far as old muscle cars, is probably a 65 GTO, but I might need more space for that. We got other projects that have to be finished first.
Now, everyone can tell that you're from the Northeast, but you now live in Florida, so you made the decision to come get warm.
Yep. When I worked at the magazine, a whole bunch of us moved down here. They closed our New Jersey office, and about 6 of us kept our jobs and moved down to Tampa, Florida. And I love it down here now.
Yeah.
No snow.
Simple as that. Hey, Jill's out there, wants to know what happened to the GTO. Is that a loaded question or is it a real question?
That is a loaded question because on the way to get pie, the story goes that a deer ran out in front of me.
Ah, okay. Is that one of those stories better left untold as well, perhaps?
Well, my dad could be watching, so.
That's good. That's good. What's this guy? We don't know his name, but he says, I got a haul new GT500 so Evan could play at Bradenton. Oh, there you go. I like it.
All of that.
Yeah. All right. So before we go too far away from the electric Mustang, I do want to show this great sizzle video that they put out and get your take, because the lack of sound is a big part of it. But kind of interesting that they drop it now, right? We're all bored. Nobody's got anything to do. We're kind of trapped, and they give us a little something to talk about. I think it could be kind of an interesting marketing move. 17 seconds from Ford. And simple as that. I think it works. For 17 seconds, they got me interested.
Yep, that's a sizzle reel. If ever there was a sizzle reel, that's it right there.
Yeah, exactly. Did a good job with it. All right, so let's talk clutch driving. Teach us. How do you do it?
Oh, man. So we're talking like street cars or race cars?
Well, I guess I would both. First of all, let me give you my background in that, my dad's from Jersey and was a hot rodder, and he had 2 GTOs and a 68 Ram Air clutch car. But then, got married. I came around and there were no clutch cars anymore. And so I grew up my whole life hearing about my dad being, was an ace with a clutch, and how much fun they are and how much more connected you are in this great experience. Except my mom can't drive a stick, and so we just never had one. She needs to be able to, sorry, Ma, but it's, it's a fact. But anyway, into my 30s, or late 20s, I couldn't drive a clutch car just because there wasn't one available to even try. Just wasn't around. Nobody I knew had one. Nobody had one. So finally, this became a problem. And a good friend of mine, Boca Bryan, let me drive his 4-cylinder convertible Mustang. And I got some reps on it. I did the Justin Bell GT driving experience school with exactly 5 hours of practice on it, and I fell in love with it. And now both the cars I have are clutch cars. I got a CTS V with a 6-speed Tremec, and I've got a Firebird with like the base 5-speed manual, and I love it. But just like trying to learn anything when you're older, if I was younger, I would have learned better. Let's put it that way. So there's a lot of people that have never had exposure to a clutch car. So give us your, some of your theories, some of the best practices as best as you can with a little hint on the drag race.
Okay. So I think I was probably 14 or 15 and my dad said, come on, we're going out driving. And we had, of all things, we had this little Toyota station wagon with a 4-speed. And I didn't know what we were doing. It was a Sunday. We went to a closed business into the big parking lot in the back in central New Jersey. I say central New Jersey because that is an actual place in my book. And we swapped places. He put me behind the wheel, and despite some, I'm not going to say screaming and yelling, but let's say I tried to be a quick learner. And after a few times doing that, he put me on a hill with the car and said, hold the car without using the brake. So you're working the clutch, working the gas, letting it roll back a little bit, going up and down, which is one of the hardest things to do if you're learning how to drive a stick. It can be very intimidating when you come up to a hill and have to stop and start on a hill. So that was like my introduction to stick shift, was learning just the basics of letting the clutch out. And that probably kind of like built the foundation for me being able to drive. And then when he would be at work, because he commuted to the city, and I got my learner's permit, which you're supposed to be out with an adult. So, of course, there was a 17-year-old friend of mine, and we used to take the car out and practice. And then I got my GTO and got the Mustang and took the Mustang to the track. I'll skip all the GTO stuff because I've probably gotten a little trouble with that with him. At first, he really didn't want me to go to the track with it. I think more because he didn't want me to break it, not because he was afraid of racing, because he knew I didn't have any money to spend on it. But like I said in the beginning, I just practiced a lot with the Mustang. And, one of the things I learned was with a race car, with a stick shift, when you dump the clutch, one of the first things that happens is the tire, if you have a bias ply tire, the tire absorbs that initial hit. So the tire wraps up. That's that big wrap that you see in the tire on a drag launch. And then the suspension works, if you got a good working car, to kind of slingshot the car away, a little bit of wheel speed. And depending on whether you have an adjustable clutch, you're tuning your clutch. With a street car, generally, especially today's street cars, you have a very short sidewall tire that has no give in terms of the wheel wrapping up the tire. So you are the traction control. The way you let the clutch out, in coordinating that with the car transferring weight and you applying the power, is all you have to get the car to hook. So engine up a little bit as far as RPM. You don't want to be at a dead idle. And then it seems like I tend to let the clutch out quite quickly when I first go to let it out to get the body of the car transferring weight. And then really it's a matter of feel of as quickly and smoothly as you can apply power and get the clutch out and keep the tires hooked is going to give you the best 60-foot and the best launch. Now, of course, you need to do a good burnout. You need to understand the track you're on. You need to understand the power level you're dealing with, the type of tire you're on. You got to be able to take all those things into consideration, and then just go and practice. Thankfully, we have a lot of drag strips. So you can look at your 60-foot times. I tend to shift with my right foot planted to the firewall and just tap the clutch and shift. That takes a little bit of practice and some confidence to be able to do that. And you want as little bit of RPM flash as possible. And that's really it. It's not an easy thing to do. I still mess up every once in a while, but when you hit all 3 gears in a 4-speed, it's quite satisfying. And I love being directly connected to the acceleration process.
He has had over 20 factory production car quarter-mile records, including the 2020 Shelby GT 500, 1061, multi-time national record holder and stock eliminator, 18-time NHRA class winner. We'll take it from you. Now, I'm always worried about, or as you described, we have parking garages here, right? Up and down the parking garage. When you're stuck in a traffic jam in a parking garage, you got to be able to do it. I can hold the car there, no problem, but working that clutch, I always wonder, am I damaging it? Is this exactly how should I avoid being in that position? Using the clutch, overusing the clutch, if you understand what I'm saying. I'm paranoid about that because I don't want to have to take my stuff apart prematurely because that'll take a long time.
Great question. So on the street, clutches are pretty robust. You got to build a lot of heat to really hurt a modern clutch, especially a production level clutch. They're really tolerable. They'll really tolerate a lot of abuse. As far as drag racing goes, like taking your your Cadillac CTS-V to the track, there's two completely different schools of thought on how to launch a stick car. Your car, I think, from the factory, doesn't have the greatest half shafts.
No,
they tend to break,
and huge wheel hop problems too.
Yep,
tremendous
exactly. So, exactly. So, plan A is, but your car also has a lot of torque, so you can launch at a very low RPM, just kind of trade feet smoothly, and get the gas planted. And if you do everything smoothly, you can avoid wheel hop. It's those abrupt inputs, people will tend to, as soon as they feel the car moving, they get itchy and come off the clutch too fast. So that will tend to lead to wheel hop. That's a huge mistake that people make. You got to be smooth throughout the whole transition. That's what I try to tell people. So low RPM, get the clutch out fast. The other school of thought is, if you have the feel for it and you don't mind putting a little extra wear on the clutch, higher RPM launch and feather the clutch out. So you're keeping the engine a little more in the power band, but you've got to really have a good seat of the pants feel for what the tire's doing as you let the clutch out. And then you don't want to ride the clutch too much because you can burn it up. And then you got to be able to recognize when that's happening, so you can get the clutch out maybe a little quicker, or maybe not do that on the next run.
And what's the worst thing that you can do? Like avoid this at all costs. With
just overriding. Do the burnout, obviously, short and sweet. Get up to the line. Keep your foot on the floor as far as the clutch, so that you keep an air circulating. You don't want to be just dragging the clutch the whole time. And then absolute no would be just people just slipping the heck out of the clutch to the point where, like, you see smoke pouring out of the bell housing and they just don't even know that it's happening. And I've even seen where people have slipped it so bad that they'll then floor it, and the clutch is slipping so bad that the engine is basically banging off the rev limiter. And that can actually feel like tire spin, because you think it's slipping, the engine's banging off the rev limiter, you think the tires are spinning, but you're really just melting the clutch out of it.
Got it. Don't melt the clutch out of it.
Bad. It could also be really bad for your feet if the thing explodes.
Yeah, that would be something to avoid as well. All you kids at home, avoid that. But I really appreciate it. That was a great lesson. Now tell me about the YouTube channel and tell us the details. We've got the fact that you have a YouTube channel up there, but this is something you've dived into, and you're creating videos, and you're test driving all these amazing cars. And of course, why wouldn't you have a YouTube channel? I've watched you playing your video game. Everybody else is making laps around Nürburgring and such. So tell us a little bit about the YouTube channel and where we can go to watch your follies.
Cool. So the YouTube channel is REVan, pretty easy, REVan, which obviously is a play on my name. I think Ron Moorhead, super stock racer up in Division 1, when I raced up there, started calling me REVan because I had the X pipe on the stocker and it sounds really loud. So he kind of gave me that name. So I thought it'd be a cool name for the channel. And we just do all kinds of car stuff, even non-Ford stuff. We do everything car related. I'm really just in the process of growing the channel, seeing what works. And I'm just passionate about cars. So if I can share my passion and the videos, I get a lot of feedback from a lot of my friends, tend to give me some ideas and help me out with, all kinds of stuff, shooting the videos. My buddy Abe has been, instrumental.
I know
you met Abe.
Abe's
Abe's instrumental in helping out with the videos. We bought a 88 Fox body little stock Mustang that we're going to build up on the channel as soon as this Coronacation is over with. There's a fun ride right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I had you send me these pictures, and I failed to put them all up. That is, you're 45 degrees. I think you're coming down on that one. That's amazing.
Yeah, that was during the testing of the 2014 Cobra Jet. It spun the first 2 runs. I had no idea. I just figured it was going to spin again. And when I let it go, it went up and up. And I think I rode it out like 300 feet. It dragged, scraped the bumper. That was on the way up because the whole back of the bumper was toast. And the Ford engineers, like, I don't know that they've ever seen that before. And they certainly never made a car do that before. At least I don't think they did. And their jaws were hanging when I got I tried to play it cool, but I wouldn't say I was crapping a bucket, but it caught my attention.
Got to keep going. You can't snap off the gas at that point.
I stayed in it, baby.
Is this the car we just took a ride in?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 3025 speed, the G-Force transmission. Pretty simple combo, a lot of fun.
Evan, thank you very much for joining us on WFO Radio Live. Really appreciate everything you do, making it a more fun experience out there at the NHRA to be able to break away, learn a little bit. Thank you for educating us. We've extracted a little bit of knowledge. I appreciate that. Can't wait to go drive around the neighborhood. And I encourage everybody to get out there and hit your channel and subscribe and watch what they do. And ours too, by the way, our YouTube channel, WFO Radio TV, lied dormant for many years. Like, what do I do with this, right? And now we're doing this with it. So they say click the bell, and that way you'll get a notification whenever Evan puts up a new video. Evan, thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Joe. I hope I'll see you in Gainesville in a couple of weeks or a month or so.
Yes, sooner the better. But yes, I'm excited to be back out there and get back to doing what we really love, which is racing and being around race cars. So thank you so much, Evan.
All right, man. Thank you.
There he goes. Evan Smith, REVan Evan. Subscribe to the channel. Great stuff. We really appreciate him coming on. And, I guess I'm not that bad a stick shift driver. Like everything that he said, it's like, all right, I figure that works. I can do that. And since we're giving out people's information, you can follow me at WFO Joe. And we've got the podcast, which the audio of this all goes up on the podcast because not everybody can sit in front of a screen and watch. But definitely check that out. And for you YouTubers out there, subscribe. Let's grow that YouTube channel. And of course, if you want a WFO Radio t-shirt, get it at nitrofishracing.com. The artwork is second to none. Randy Lynn Ship and the team over there at Nitro Fish Racing doing a great job. And Randy Lynn was our Friday Cocktails guest a few weeks back, did a great job. And we hatched this scheme, WFO masks. Are they going to go like gangbusters? Are you interested? Are people going to want them? I don't know. But they're coming soon. All right, time to bring on our next guest for a few moments. Then we're going to get to Eric Lane, who is already in the green room. What's up, Eric? I see you out there. But this came together quickly. And he is joining us from Archetype 360, named Justin Collier. Justin, welcome to WFO. How are you?
Doing well, Joe. How about yourself? Thanks for having me.
Great. And normally, like, you reached out to me on Instagram, and that happens a lot. And it was like, what are you doing? And you have this thing you're doing. And I thought, man, what a perfect example of the drag racing community. Number one, being an innovator. Number two, wanting to be helpful. Number three, not willing to just sit around and do nothing. Tell us about what you got, what you did, and why you did it.
A real quick story. About a week ago, George Bryce reached out to me and said that a good friend of his was a doctor and was in need of a PPE box built. And did some research, and I wasn't able to produce it quick enough, but I hooked him up with someone who had it in stock. And a couple of days later, I was having a conversation with the doctor. I had started printing these little ear clips that hold the masks. And he said, I could use as many of those as you could make. And I was like, okay. So we started down that road of making the mask clips. And boy, it has just blown up the amount of people. The last 3 days we've shipped to 15 states at a rate of about 1,000 mask clips a day.
All right. So you're making mask clips for people who have to wear PPE for various scenarios. And I think we've all seen the video and the photographs. I've got some friends, the end of a long day, the straps and they're burned from the friction. It's very uncomfortable for me to wear it just to the grocery store. So
Number one, this is so great coming out of Pro Stock Motorcycle, being a crew member. You work with Corey Reed and Joey Gladstone right now, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Started off with George. Just want everybody to know that. But show us how it works, what it does, and then we're going to show people how they can get it.
Yeah, real quick. So there's a lot of versions floating around on the internet, but I kind of took it and put my own spin on it to make it comfortable and very user-friendly. But like you said, the straps can make your ears sore. But what this does, you clip it on to the elastic, and then instead of the elastic having to go on your ears, you just clip it onto the little clip, the little strap, and it takes all the pressure off the back of your ears. And to those doctors and nurses wearing these things, virtually their full shift, what I've been told, it provides a lot more comfort to them.
And okay, so I think it's great. And you're printing these? That's a 3D printed item?
We started out 3D printing them, and even with all the printers I have, the volume was not going to be enough. So redesigned it, and now we're actually cutting them on the same CNC machine we use to make Pro Stock motorcycle parts when we're racing, which we're not right now.
Not right now. I love that. Okay, so the best part is there are people who need this. And what are you going to do? And feel free to plug wherever, however you're going to do to get this to people. And the reason you're on is we want to make people aware of what this is. And there are countless people. The other day, I actually had somebody say, hey, man, I got masked. Put out the word that I got masked. And I put out the word on Facebook for 2 seconds, and 10 people DM'd me, direct messaged me. And, the masks were gone immediately. So this is a big thing right now because everybody is living with this mask. I think these masks are here to stay. So, how are you getting them out there? Where can people get them? What is the story with the masks? How are you doing this?
2 ways. You can go to the website, archetype360.net. My wife's probably loading it on there right now, and you can buy a box and send it to somebody. But we're also doing it off donations. There's a GoFundMe. All the money is for buying material and paying for shipping. We basically next day or 2 days ship everything. All the doctors are getting these. We put together kits of 50 of them. I wanted to make sure that when the hospital gets them, these are set on the counter and used. I don't want our frontline responders to feel like they don't have enough. But the best way to get a hold of me, I set up an email. It's N95maskstraps@gmail. So if I can funnel everything there, I can, arrange it from there if that's easy for everybody to get a hold of.
There it is. Yeah, no, say that email address again because I did not build a graphic for you. I apologize.
That's all right. This is quick. It's
This happened very fast, by the way. This was a mid-afternoon thing. That's man, let's get it on the air. But and people can purchase these and donate them. They can set up a donation, and then you will just send them to the doctors. It's just you're just trying to be helpful here and cover your cost, of course.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we started out doing it out of our pocket, but I quickly had people just wanting to help. And I think with our racing community, it's an amazing group. When we're in the pits, everybody helps everybody. So. But the email is the letter N95maskstraps@gmail.com. And from there, I can send people a link or however they want to help. But really, I just want to get the awareness out. If you think you know somebody that could use it, let me know. I can stick in an envelope and send you 10, 50. I mean, some of the people we're sending a couple hundred at a time too.
Wow. That is tremendous, and that's the spirit of drag racing right there. Yep. Not willing to just sit around. You're going to do something. There's a problem. You're going to go and you're going to get in the middle of the fight of it somehow. And I think it is great. Justin, thank you so much for joining us here on WFO Radio. Everybody hit that email. If you know someone you could be helpful, donate to the GoFundMe so that they can keep building these mask straps, because I felt it today. I went to the post office man, I don't want this thing on me. It's too uncomfortable. Do I really need it? You feel that feeling for a second. Anything to make it a little more comfortable is going to make it better. Justin, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll have some headed your way today.
Hey, all right. Not a bunch. A couple. Thank you so much. There he goes. Justin Collier with us here on WFO Radio Live. And again, that came together so rapidly. But I think it's a great cause and it's a good thing and it's positive. So hit him up. N95maskstraps@gmail.com. There it is. All right. And now, our final guest, he's going to bring us home. He is a co-crew chief for the Snap-on Tools Funny Car of Cruise Pedregon and a good friend, one of the people I really look forward to seeing out there at the track, Mr. Eric Lane.
How are you doing?
Hey, how are you? What's going on?
I'm doing all right.
Need you centered a little bit more. You need to go, yeah. But then we see the Wally in the background. I can understand why you want to show off that. So how's it going? How are you staying busy?
Well, after watching your last guest, I feel like I'm not doing my part, but on that, I'm going to touch that a little bit. My next door neighbor is a nurse at the local hospital, and a lot of them don't have the N95 mask, and what they've been doing is they've actually been doubling up on the mask, so it makes it even worse. So when I've seen those, it actually looks like you could put multiple masks on as well. So I've already wrote down the email, and I'm going to be sending those off to him too. So I think that's a cool thing he's doing. Yeah,
it really is, and we want to help somehow. And some of us are not. Like I'm not. I don't have that kind of talent. What can I? Yeah. What can I do? Well, I can put Justin on, right? I can put him on, and now you know about him, and he could have probably come to you somehow using the social media. But now we've facilitated. I feel like I've been helpful in a way to this circumstance. But what are you going to do? All right, so let's talk about some positive things, though. You guys are going to be the most organized and ready to go that you've ever been for anything. Whenever we get ready to go.
100%. We were excited to go to Gainesville. We got down there, made some big changes to go to Gainesville, made some leeway through the first couple races. Hadn't done too well, but we've been working out, hurting the motor and doing some things and just working out the clutch guy and a lot of different areas. We were really excited going into Gainesville, and then obviously we got there and things had changed, and it is what it is. So we came back to the shop, did a lot of organization of the shop, which, as much as you always try to stay ahead of the game, you just never get there. And the one thing that's a little different at Cruz Pedregon's shop is that he's got an actual running show car. So the car actually is basically a third funny car that we can use as a deal to go to, sponsorships and do different things with Snap-on and actually start the car on nitro, which is pretty cool. So we've been able to get caught up on a lot of those things. And then also he's got his nostalgia car, which is amazing to be, a part of. And there's a picture of it there. So,
it's favorites. I have a story. Yeah. I forget where I was. It was after Indy a couple of years ago when he just finished it. And I, how do I say this? I keep my distance from people. I'm not trying to go be everybody's friend. I end up as some people's friend, but I'm not going to go try to butt my way into anything that I don't feel like I got my own stuff going. I hopefully that sounds reasonable to people. But when Cruz Pedregon comes over to me and says, "Hey, what are you doing after Indy?" And I'm like, "I got to fly home tomorrow." He goes, "What time you fly? Why don't you come by the shop and see this car?" I was thrilled because I am a 78 Trans Am guy. Like that's my car. Like I got one, you might not be able to see it on the wall, but that's my car, the Bandit Trans Am. That look, regardless of what you do with it. I remember the early funny cars, they'll pull these War Eagle, that style, Gordy Bonin, like that is the car. And Cruz is that's one of my favorite cars out there on the nostalgia scene.
Yeah, well, and if you look at that car, it's old with the paint and the, all of the stickers, they're not actual stickers, they're painted on. And I mean, even the headlights, taillights are all painted. So it's a beautiful car. And it just came back from Saudi Arabia, actually, for that NHRA deal. And it just got shipped back to us. So, we've been doing a lot of stuff at the shop and just trying to be organized and, as well as, we try to do our part and try to do the things that we can do. And I'm glad there's people like Don Schumacher and these other places that are helping out, not only on the racing side, but just kind of helping out with the cause. And I wish we could do more. We don't have the facilities, the machines and, the 3D printers and all that stuff. But, I just think it's cool that our racing community is doing a lot of stuff. So it's awesome.
Well, it is what DSM did and the 3D printing of masks, and we got to get through it. And I hope we are getting through it. I feel we are getting through it. How far through it are we? Are we almost halfway? Are we beyond halfway? That's a debate that's happening right now, but I just don't want to come out too early and have to do it again. And that's the debate I'm having with a lot of my friends, and some of them are getting angry at me, like, aren't you going crazy? We need to make money. And I get it. But I also know that if you go too early, you know, you red light and you lose. It's better to wait. And what, who makes that decision? I don't. I know that.
Yeah, well, 100%. And that's, you know, Nick and our guys, we've just been kind of just hanging out and doing what we can do. And, you know, we don't really have any of that control, but we just do what we can do. And, you know, I just hope that we do the right decision making. And, you know, NHRA, I'm not going to lie to you. I think when they came out with their first plan and then came out with the second plan of, you know, starting in June, I think it was something that we were talking about that, you know, where are we going to be? We don't know really. Hopefully we will be racing in June. Hopefully that's something that we'll be doing. And, you know, just selfishly, I guess for myself, just because, you know, we're bored at home. We want to get on the road. We're so used to go, 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 go. And then all of a sudden we're slow down mode. So I hopefully we do the right thing, and I think everything will be okay. We just got to stick together. That's the biggest key.
That is it. What's the vibe there in Brownsburg? Because we know that I'm an independent contractor. I'm not an employee of anybody, and so my work is pretty much all stopped, which except for WFO, which is why I have WFO. But we hear about people being furloughed and all that. And you don't have to give me specifics, but I know that everybody that's not doing anything, like not working, like non-absolutely essential personnel, are not doing a lot right now because there's no income for anybody. I totally understand it. So what's the attitude? Like, you know, positive, negative, down, hopeful, you know, our racing friends, like how are they handling this bizarre situation?
Well, I know that there are some of the teams out here that, you know, have done some cuts and have taken back some money from people and, you know, the employees. I can only speak for myself with our particular situation. You know, Cruz called Nick and I, and we came in and sat down and had a meeting, and it's amazing. Cruz and Snap-on has been amazing through all of this. Our guys had a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, obviously. You know, there's some of the teams that, you know, it spreads like wildfire through the racing community on how things are happening. But Cruz, you know, the first thing he said is we're family. We're going to take care of one another. We're going to do our stuff, and we're going to fight through this. His sponsors are good. They've been talking to him left and right. And, you know, as long as we keep sticking together, we'll be good. But, you know, on our side, we have not had any cuts, thankfully. Knock on wood, Cruz has been amazing to our group bunch of guys. And, you know, it's that he's better than anybody else. That's not the way I want to portray that. It's just that, you know, he believes maybe a little different than other people. I'm not sure. I don't know the whole key of everything. I just know on our side that, you know, he believes us, we're a family and we're going to stick together. One of the things that's a little different before I got there is that Nick really built a crew that wanted to stay. He had the same people from all last year as well as, you know, to start this year off. So Nick has really done a good job of building a good crew, and Cruz has really felt very, very comfortable. In the very last race that was in Pomona, I was there just kind of helping out, kind of poking my nose here and there when I was helping Jim Maroney's car. And I could feel the vibe of his crew really had a connection with Cruz, and Cruz had a connection with the crew, which is, I think, something that he's probably not had in a while. He talks the Ron Tobler days when Ron Tobler was there, and I think that's kind of the feel that I get from him. It's kind of a fun deal. Earlier we were doing our deal, and you said, "Hey, just have some fun out there." Yeah, I'm having more fun right now. It's back when I was with the Ron Tobler deal. I'm having so much fun right now. The fact of working with Cruz, working with the crew guys, running the shop, doing all these things. And it's kind of where we're talking about not being able to race. It's like, we want to race. We want to do it because we're so excited because everything has come together and we can't go out there and do it, you know, and that's what's kind of the hard part. But, you know, we're just fighting through. That's all we can all do, you know, stick together.
I think it's interesting. Let's face it. I've heard that Cruz in the past has been a challenging guy to work for, but what the heck do I know? I just hear things that people say. When I engage with Cruz has been super nice and great, and he's doing a lot of things himself and handling it. But the Snap-on car has got to win some races. That's it. Big sponsor, big sponsorship, and I really felt like that Snap-on they get that Cruz has got a fan base. The Cruz is got a status in the sport of NHRA drag racing, and when he turns on win lights, it's good for drag racing. Simple as that. And so, however you got here, because you were slated your first full-time crew chiefing job. You were over there with Ron Tobler on the Napa car. You guys won a championship. Then you moved over to Tasca. You selected a team, and Nick was part of that team that you selected. And things didn't work out for whatever reason. And then Nick ended up with Cruz, and then he pulled you in there. Like, first of all, to me, that's like an all for one for all, that family style atmosphere that you want. You want people feeling like you're going to war together, number one, and doing it for higher reasons. Talk a little bit about Nick and that, what he did beyond like professionalism. Like, you guys obviously have a stronger connection.
Well, one of the things that I base a lot of my stuff on is my past. Obviously, you do try to learn and do from mistakes and so on and so forth, and the things that are positive. Ron Tobler was a very positive thing. Jimmy Prock was very positive to me. Those are two of the most unbelievable guys, right? But one of the things that Nick learned from being together with me is that he learned a lot of the Ron Tobler ways, and that is building a crew, teaching the crew, treating the crew with respect, learning how to build a team, how to prepare the parts, so on and so forth. And a lot of times there's a little bit that a lot of people don't see outside of the racing. When you're a one-car team, okay, it's very difficult to do a lot of the things that you normally don't do with a big team. Big teams, you have a person that does the DOT, you have a person that orders the parts, you have a person that does, you have your own shipping room over here that you go and pick up the parts and you walk out. Well, when you're a single car team, you don't do that. You pick up the phone, you make the phone calls, and you do all those things. You don't have somebody booking your rental cars, you don't have all these things. So there's a lot more work to building a team that you're on your own. When you're on your own, you have to do it all. You're not only the shipping person, you do all the PO work, you do all the ordering, you do all the firing, you do all the hiring, you do everything. So there's a little bit on the backside. So when I went to Tasca's, it was a build up from the beginning. We moved a shop from Charlotte, North Carolina, that a lot of people don't know. We brought it to Indy. We had to build the shop in Indy. We had to put together a shop. We started building bodies. We didn't have fixtures. We had to build the fixtures as well as race on top of a lot of this stuff. So not only did you have to start a team, you had to build the team, you had to build the shop, you had to build those things. And today's funny car racing is not like it was 20 years ago. Today's funny car racing, you better be on your game. There's some serious hitters out here. You look at J.R. Todd, you look at Sean Langdon when he was driving, you look at Cruz Pedregon, just like you talked about. You got a lot of money, you got a lot of personnel, you got a lot of people behind you, and it's tough racing out here. Anybody that comes to the racetrack in a funny car has a shot to winning, and they are big names out here. So there's a lot to it. And when you're a single car team, and where I'm going with this is that when I came to Cruz's, he asked me, what do I want to change? I said, I don't want to change anything. I think you have a good part. You have good pieces, but we need to get some background. We need some help. We need to do the extra steps as the big part does. And that's basically, let's get your blowers on a dyno. Let's make all your blowers the same. Let's make all the parts the same. Let's take all the whiz bam stuff off and let's get to the basics, as Ron Tobler would say. Like, let's be truthful with ourselves. Do we need this? Do we need that? Let's get to the basics of the racing. And that's where we're at right now. We went to Don Schumacher, and Don called me actually and said, congratulations on my job. And then said, if I need anything to call him. And I said, well, I'd like to get some blower work done. And he said, okay, can I use your blower dyno? Can I use your fuel pump dyno? Can we use all these things? And, that to us is huge, because now we have built a relationship, not only with our smaller teams, but with a big team. And when we need help or we need parts or we need this, we can go and do the things that the big cars do. So that's been good. And also, as well as bringing Nick along with that program, and that's where we kind of started this conversation, is that Nick has learned a lot of this from me, but as well from Ron Tobler, because when Ron Tobler, he was helping me on the Tasca car, he built a relationship with Nick, and he respects Nick, and Nick picked up a lot of things from Ron Tobler. So, Nick has done a great job of putting together a deal over here. And really, I've just come in and just kind of went off and running, just like we were at the Tasca car, because he pretty much set everything up as I would have done. And that's the cool part, is what he does, I do, and it's a pretty good relationship.
The experience that you guys have, and I always think, like, the drivers get all the love, let's face it, because fans in the stands, they see the car and they think about the driver gets the love. The crew chief gets all the stress. They're on the starting line, a lot of the decisions, the pressure, all of that. They also do pretty well from time to time. But the experience that you've had working at Force, Jimmy, Austin, working at Schumacher, Tobler, Nick was at Coletta, Nick has been like with you over at Schumacher with Tasca, that cross-pollination. What is it, in your opinion, about the greatest of the great crew chiefs that make them that way? Like, organization, okay, like there's a lot of people that are organized in the world. Years in the game, there's been people who are around for a long time, but they don't excel. Maybe they just don't have the right situation. But there's like a couple of guys that just got this thing, and if you could emulate them, like you would. But what do you think are the characteristics that make them the best of the best?
It's a call. It's your gut feeling. I've watched it with Ron Tobler many times. We were on the same page. We would go to the starting line, and he would say, no, I'm going to do this. And as an assistant, okay, let's do it. And you get these gut feelings, and it's an instinct, just like you said, experience. That's the thing is I try to compare myself to Jimmy Prock or Ron Tobler, but you look at the years and years of experience that Ron Tobler and even Jimmy Prock. I mean, look at how long Jimmy's been doing this. I mean, he's been doing it since he was, a young kid with his dad driving. So, all of those experiences come to play without a doubt. I started this when I was, 27, 26 years old, and I've been doing it for 20 years. But, when I think, well, I've done it for 20 years. Well, Ron Tobler's been doing it for how long? Okay. 3 times, twice as many times as I have.
Right.
So it's those years of experience and the years of the gut ache of what I'm doing now as a crew chief that he's done. And the one thing that makes Ron Tobler probably better than 90% of the people is when he was doing it with Shirley, there wasn't a lot of crew guys. There wasn't very much money. He had to do everything himself. And so a lot of that is easily gained respect when you bring in crew guys, because they understand that Ron Tobler's done it all. There's no BS in Ron Tobler. There's no, it's the way it is, because Ron Tobler is there, so. But one of the things with Ron Tobler that he's got in his corner, he doesn't have very much turnover. He has a lot of guys that stick with him, that's been with him since Cruz Pedregon days. And that's the key to 90% of it. I mean, when you have the same guys doing the same job over and over and over again, that's big for you. As a crew chief, you don't have to worry about anything. That's the one thing that I learned with Ron Tobler and the Napa guys. They just did it. They didn't ask questions. They didn't do it because they didn't have to, because they've done it for so many years, doing the same job over and over and over again. They knew exactly what Ron Tobler wanted, and they did it.
Do you
and
think,
that's
do you
go ahead.
think Ron is, and this is kind of interesting because he's won so many different championships and finished second so many times, like one of the greats. But and that's how we got to know each other real well, is through the wine experience incident.
Yep.
Yeah, with
Did you notice that's a Camus, bottle of Camus too? Did you notice that?
Yeah, that's why I'm taking a photo with it. If it was a bottle of Alamos, you would not be taking a photograph of yourself. Just my opinion. But getting to know his, him as the person as opposed to him as the crew chief, and like, all right, I see where this dude's coming from. I kind of feel like he's underrated. When people talk about, crew chiefs over the era, there's only been so many guys who've been there all this time. Now, how do you say Ron Tobler's underrated for someone who's won all these different world championships? But I don't know. I feel like he's underrated. What do you think?
I personally believe he is. He's probably one of the great crew chiefs, without a doubt. And I think he is definitely underrated maybe he doesn't have quite as many wins or whatever that everybody else has. But for a guy, when I first started, that could take and go and take a tune-up and go help another team and bring it together and make it run, and it's a completely total different car. It's amazing. I could name Paul Lee, TJ Zizzo. We can continue on. I mean, when JC started, it was the same thing. They started JC's car. It was Ron Tobler's. Dickie Venables. Okay. How many times Dickie comes over to our pit and when I worked over there and said, "Hey, Tobler, can you come look at my stuff?" Tobler goes over there and helps. That's the one great thing about Ron Tobler, is he has zero ego whatsoever. He is there to help. He's there to help his friends. He's there to help anybody. And that's what's amazing about him. But to watch, one of my greatest ones would be TJ Zizzo, when he walked over to TJ Zizzo and said, "Dude, this is your dragster. This is your car. You need to be involved in it." And TJ Zizzo's like, "Man, I'm going broke. I'm blowing parts up. I'm blowing pieces up." And Ron Tobler straight out told him, he goes, "Why?" He goes, "I don't know." He goes, "That's your fault, because this is your stuff. You need to do it." And to watch those two argue and yell at one another, and then you watch a year later, the car runs 75s, and he's a part-time car, and he's running 75s consistently. And the reason why is because it's got a 5-disc clutch in it that came from a funny car from Ron Tobler, and a tune-up from Ron Tobler.
Tremendous.
But it's amazing that you can transform it, and if you listen to Ron Tobler, you can make things happen. And it's pretty impressive, really is.
I have a plan to do. I've been doing this Friday cocktail show. I want to get him on here for a virtual wine night.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I want to be invited. I'll be in the background.
You'll be popping in. You'll you're on right now, right? It's in the future, folks. We're working on it. Just got to get to agree, obviously. And we got all to buy wine. We'll have to put out a list, right? Like the Tobler top 5, which I'm already on this. This idea is well formed already. So now that's interesting to hear you say that. I want you to talk about the other side of it now. A lot of people want to work on a funny car. They want to get close to the nitro. They want to be part of NHRA drag racing. But we also hear the crew guys, man, their lives are tough. It's not easy life. It's not like announcer life. It's tough life where you are out there grinding and working late hours, all-nighters, etc. What makes a good crew person?
Well, we hired a new kid because we lost one guy from last year, and he swore up and down, I graduated UTI. I graduated. I'm ready to go. I love racing. I love this. I love that. And he wanted to do this. And so he drove straight from Charlotte. He graduated on a Friday, and by Monday he was at our shop and he was doing his test and, hung out with us for a couple of days just to see if we liked him and if he liked it. And yep, I love it. And it was fine until he got on the road. And then when he got on the road, he started it's a little different here. Hold on here. I'm traveling, going down the road. Okay, that's fine the first time. Then the second time you travel from there to Pomona, and then from Pomona to here, back to the shop, and then got to go to Gainesville. And, he still hasn't even hit any of the bad stuff yet. But there,
right. The bad
I don't know how to explain it, how a crew guy makes it or not, but usually you can tell after the first weekend, usually after the first 2 or 3 days, if a guy's going to make it, just because you'll see he's usually dirty. He's got dirt on his face. His hands are dirty. He's wore out. He's tired. He doesn't want to go out and have a beer after work anymore. He just wants to go back to his room because he put 110% in all day, and he worked, and he did it, and he did his part. He did his job. And some guys you think are going to make it and they just don't. But truthfully, it's in your heart more so than anything else. It's just a love that you have. And, a lot of people can say, yeah, I want to do it. I want to do it because I want to be on the starting line. But 90% of what we do, 99%, 95% of the stuff that we do is preparation more so than anything else. And that's where a lot of people don't realize that, yeah, we're at the starting line 4 times a weekend, 5 times a weekend, but that's only a couple hours out of our day, out of our weekend, really. Most of the time it's preparing in the trailer or at the shop before we get there. So crew guys, it's just about, and I'm not going to lie to you, some situations are different. When you have a bunch of crew guys that are working together, having a good time, going out at night, inviting, where they're just, hey, come on with us. We're going to go over here and have a couple beers and dinner and we're going to bed. Or you're going to have some standoffish people that are just not getting along and they're just miserable because of the situation. That kind of kills some of the situation too. That's again where Cruz and Nick and I talk about. We need to establish a very good crew because the crew is going to make us look good. And that's the one thing that Ron Tobler, and everybody else has ever told me. You hire people that make you look good. Because if they're making you look good, that means you're doing your job. And we got to mold and correct our guys and build them to make us look good. And that's what we try to do. But you also got to make them happy too. That's what the wine nights are about. Like right. Ron Tobler's. You got to have some fun. You got to have some enjoyment, and you've noticed that, a couple of his crew guys, they like wine now. They never liked wine before. Right. Well, the reason why is because they're having a little bit more fun with it, and they're enjoying it more. And that's what 90% of this, and that's what I learned from Ron Tobler. And that's what you've always got to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy this, you might as well go home because it's not going to be very much fun.
Yeah, exactly. And there are people out there who would drink acid with Ron Tobler, if they learned some of the things. So it's not so bad drinking a little bit of wine. But you became a connoisseur, though. It's kind of hard to not. He's very passionate. It's kind of hard to not become passionate about it. Not just him. It's kind of a thing. Right? You're out here, you're on the road, you tend to enjoy. Cruises popped in, a lot of people have popped in. It's kind of like a sub-hobby of the drag racers.
Well, that bottle that you're looking at that Nick and I took a picture of with the Camus, that actually is in Cruz's simulator room that he does all of his driving. He's got a refrigerator in there, and he was hiding that bottle right there, the Camus, in the fridge, and I didn't even know about it. And so while we were redoing doing his room in there, we were repainting and doing everything, and we found that bottle. And I sent that picture to Cruz, and I said, "Hey, we're finished with the room. We're gonna pop the bottle open now." And he's like, "No."
Come on, Cruz, you gotta have more than a bottle of Camus sitting around. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah. So
that's like a favorite. That's you got to reward yourself at the end of a long day. All right. So let me ask you this, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but maybe not. You once told me an amazing story about a certain legendary crew chief being super talented on a motorcycle. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Austin Coyle.
Yes. Okay. Is that something you can share? Because I thought that story was hysterical. Obviously, leave out anything you need to leave out, but just, you think of Austin Coyle in one way. Pick, hat, smooth, making these moves. And the story you told me was just a totally different human being.
100%. 100%. So I came from Gary Dencham's car, where his team was, and he lost his ride, and Forrest offered him a job for Jimmy Prock to tune his race car. And Forrest gave me a shot to come over there and work for Jimmy on his car. And I got to know Coyle through doing the blowers, because Coyle did all the blowers. So I was building blowers left and right. And I want to say it was a good 6 months. Coyle never even said a word to me. And he just, do this, do that, but nothing real positive. It's just kind of like Coyle, what everybody thinks of Coyle, and it's not that he's standoffish. It's just, he's got his certain ways of doing stuff. And until you prove yourself, he doesn't really have much to say to you, because he wants you to prove yourself. And so it was kind of funny, because I come rolling into the shop early because Eric Medlin was showing me how to do blowers, and we're building blowers early in the morning. So when Coyle got there, he could do blower dynos. Well, this was a Saturday morning in California, so I drove my motorcycle to work, and I parked it outside the door, and I came inside, pulled my helmet off, did my stuff, and we started building blowers. Well, about 45 minutes later, Austin Coyle comes in and says, to Eric Medlin, he said, whose motorcycle is that? And he goes, well, that's Hop Singh's over there. And he looks at me, and he looks at Eric, and he looks back at me, and he goes, what's your name again? And I said, it's Hop Singh. And he goes, so you ride a motorcycle? I said, yeah. I said, I got a Jexer 750 out there. And he goes, all right. He goes, you go into the canyons and stuff? And I said, yeah. And he goes, all right. He goes, well, we're going to have a ride on Saturday if you want to go riding with me. I said, all right, well, let's go ride. And so Saturday morning, the next Saturday, I showed up to the shop, and, he came in, and he had this beautiful 929 Ducati motorcycle. And, let me tell you what, I never thought in my life I would ever see Coyle on a motorcycle like a Ducati 929. And we pulled out of the parking lot. And when we pulled out of this parking lot, he pulled the front wheel up and took off on this motorcycle. And I was just amazed that, Austin Coyle rides a motorcycle, first of all. By the time I got onto the freeway, he's gone. And we're driving down the road. I can't catch him. And I'm on my motorcycle, and I'm going 100 and something mile an hour going down the road, and I just can't catch him. So we finally got to the place where we're at, and we're going to go into the canyons, and we're going to just carve the roads and stuff, just have some fun. And, well, that's what I thought. But here we go. We get going on the road, and Coyle's gone. And Coyle's laying a knee down to the ground. Like, Coyle can ride a motorcycle like there's no tomorrow. But the problem is, you have to understand, is Coyle is not a small guy. Like, Coyle's a big guy. He's going like in the corners and dragging a knee down and the whole 9 yards. And I'm thinking to myself, who am I riding with? Where does this all come from? It's like you would never, ever expect Austin Coyle to ride a motorcycle. Well, he's got some of the coolest motorcycles. I mean, he's got a Aprilia. He's got the BMW. I think, what is it, a 1400 BMW or 1200 BMW? I mean, he's got some really nice motorcycles. But the funny part of the deal is after we were done with this, Coyle and I became buddies because we rode motorcycles. And that was our conversation. We didn't talk about blowers. We didn't talk about anything else. We talked about motorcycles. And that's kind of the one thing that I bring between Austin Coyle and Ron Tobler, because Ron Tobler is the same way. When he gets about wine, it's about wine. It's not about anything else, not race cars, not anything else. It's about the wine. And it's the same way with Coyle. There's a time and place for everything. We'll talk about motorcycles. It's motorcycles. When it's work, it's work. But there's that fine line between having fun. But yeah, Austin Coyle can ride a motorcycle, and there's probably a lot of people out there that never knew that. And let me tell you what, he impressed me like there's no tomorrow. And I thought I was a hot rodder, going around and cutting corners, and that no, not too ride with Austin Coyle.
All right, listen, I love it. When I heard that one the first time, I was blown away. You get an image of a person, and that becomes the image, and there's so much more to everyone, especially when you're around so many unique people. Anything else you want to put out there, Eric, before we let you go? I appreciate you coming on, killing some time with us. We've certainly had fun. I know we want to be talking racing, but this has been good. Anything else you got?
Yeah, you made a comment there earlier about Cruz and how you're kind of standoffish, and I want people to understand that from my side of the view, let me tell you what, he's an amazing man, actually, really, truthfully. If you ever get a chance, he's kind of hard to talk to, and that's, I think, kind of the reason people kind of take it that way. But he's like Ron Tobler. He's a no frills, no straightforward, and I think a lot of people take it as that because he just comes out. I call it verbal vomit. And that's one reason I like him and I like Ron Tobler, is because they're very similar. They just say it. It just comes out of their mouth. And I think some people probably take it in, I don't know, probably kind of a bad way, just because they just say it and they don't mean anything by it. It just comes out. And so I challenge people to take a different approach with him, or just talk to him differently, or just see him, because he's definitely a better person than most people have given him that light. And I truly believe that in my heart, because I've worked with a lot of people throughout this journey that I've had through drag racing. And let me tell you what, he may have been a douchebag back then. I don't know. But let me tell you what, he's probably one of the coolest, down to earth guys that I have truly met. And very honest and very open and very down to earth kind of guy. He just is, I think, gotten a bad rap because of a lot of different stuff, and maybe he's changed. I don't know. I'm just telling you right now, personally, probably one of the most stand-up guys I've ever worked for.
Well, and that's great that you're saying that. And my experience has been positive, but you hear things, but then
exactly.
Again, my experience with everybody is positive. Everybody wants to have a positive experience with me, because maybe I'll say their name or their sponsor or something.
Yeah.
It's
well, you want me to give you another example? Is yes. When I first started at Don Schumacher's, it was the same thing. Everybody heard the dark side, Don Schumacher Racing, right. Oh my God, don't talk to Don. He's this horrible guy. He might have been horrible back before I was there. I don't know. Maybe he was a little tougher, a little meaner. I don't know. But he was always a stand-up. And to this day, he's probably one of the most stand-up guys that I've ever worked for. He's very straightforward. He tells you suck. He tells you when you do a good job. But you know what? I would rather somebody come and tell me, hey, you need to do a little better. But at the same time, he has enough gall to come to you and say, hey, great job. And that's to me, a man, that's somebody that's really taking, you have to take the good with the bad. And, sometimes there's a lot of good and sometimes there's a lot of bad. But, everybody has an opinion. And, I learned from my opinion now is totally different than Cruz than when I first started. And I just want people to understand that, he is not too many people in our racing community can say right now that they didn't lay anybody off. They didn't cut any wages. He never even talked about it. He never even thought about it, which is very impressive to me. I was getting kind of worried just in the fact that, there's a lot of different stuff going on here. And, he never talked about it. And that's what makes me believe the guys that are standing behind him right now will be there with him for a while. And the reason why is because they have loyalty to him now. It's pretty impressive. It really is.
And these are the times, tough times. Tough times don't last. Tough people do, and that makes me feel really good about it. And sometimes you need to be put in an uncomfortable position.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes It's good for you. Look at that conversation with TJ that you mentioned with Ron Tobler. Like sometimes you need to be shaken out of your comfort zone, and it takes something like that. And some people can't handle it. So I think it's great. And I just want to see you guys on the track and go out and get a win and get a second win.
Yeah. And one of the other things that we all got to realize too here is, as NHRA, we got to stick together. And I think that's one of the things that we hopefully will do throughout this process, is that this is going to be a tough road for NHRA. It's going to be a tough road for our teams. It's going to be a tough road for everybody. And I think something that we need to really sit back and look at is, if we love our sport as much as we do, we're going to have some some bumps and grinds throughout the rest of this season if we do get racing here. Hopefully in June we start racing, and it's not going to be very fun, but we need to stick together as a group to make sure that we come out of this as a group and as a family, as racers, and hopefully we can do that. But we're going to have to all look in the mirror and say, what can we do? And just like those people making things for the other teams, nurses and doctors, when we get to racing again, we're going to have to do it for ourselves and for our people that are racing. So, hopefully we're all ready and on board for it.
Absolutely. How's the fam before I let you
go? Daughter's doing amazing. Everybody's doing great. I don't know have you seen a picture of her horse yet?
No.
Oh yeah, I'll have to send you pictures of the horse. So yeah, she's got a horse and she's been jumping and doing all the fun stuff. And for a 5-year-old, I think her teacher is about pulling her hair out because all she wants to do is jump the horse. And she's been doing really well. She went to her first major meet and won, I think, first, and I think she had a second and then a fifth. So she did really, really well. Very proud of her. She just finished kindergarten, which I feel a little bit bad for because she didn't really have a graduation, but and she learned how to ride a bike today.
Hey, victory.
Yeah.
Today is
yeah. Actually, yesterday she wanted to get a new bike. I told her, well, then you need to get the training wheels off. And she went down the street with no training wheels on and did turns and everything. So after I'm done here, I'm going to buy her new bike.
There you go. I like it.
Yep.
Eric, I appreciate you coming on the show. Great reconnecting with you as well. That's been the toughest part. You don't see your friends for a long time, but we're going to be back out there soon enough. Hey, Molly says, what's up from Lowell, Indiana? And
Molly.
Brian Brewster says that you guys will have that car in the winner's circle real soon. A lot of positive energy out there for you. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. And, if there's anything I can do, I'm just excited to be back out there whenever it happens.
Yep, for sure. And stop by and say hi. And trust me, we have a wine fridge in our trailer too. So it may not rival Ron Tobler's, but we'll have a little bit there.
That's great. I'll make a lap. That sounds good to me.
Yep.
All right, Eric, thank you so much.
All right, buddy.
Take care.
Thank you.
There he goes. Eric Lane, a.k.a. Hop Sing, a.k.a. Asian Larry, a.k.a. he's got a bunch of nicknames, with us here on WFO Radio Live. How about that? The coil story, the first time I heard it, it's like over and that's alien to me. It's alien to me. Here he is. He's like this young guy going out there thinking he's fast. And no, man, he's not fast. Not in the least. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. I do appreciate all you guys. Let me run down the people that really make this all possible for us, though. Talking about like Marvin Rodak. I brought a little Rodak's coffee show and tell for you guys. There it is. Look at this. This is Marvin. This is what he sends me. And this is why I'm able to get through these shows at a very high energy level. There's drag racing themed coffee. It's amazing. The guy's a great guy, and he's roasting coffee right now. So give him a call. Like literally order a pound of coffee right now. 817-924-6821. A little Marvin Rodak's coffee. You can get these great mugs and anything. It's all about keeping the small businesses together. Hop was just saying about like the family, the NHRA family, keeping everybody together. Yeah, it's very, very true. Also, Total Seal piston rings, the leader in ring seal technology. But for me, I get to do this great podcast called Hidden Horsepower. Keith Dorton, the most recent episode, NASCAR legend engine builder, has done like science projects for the, Department of Energy. And it's all discussed in there. Really cool. But it all is about, if you're an engine builder or you're building an engine and you want to make horsepower, you're spending a lot of money on a lot of things. Don't skimp out on maybe the most underrated performance part, which is your piston ring, which provides ring seal, pistons and piston rings. Go to totalseal.com, find out more information. samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Real proud that I get to mention them because I hope that there's a young person out there, when I say young, between 13 and 30, that says, man, I want to be the next high-performance engine builder, machinist, work on CNC machines. That's going to keep this whole operation that is racing and motorsports going. They've also got a podcast we produce called Factory Stock Podcast. Can't wait to get that going. samtech.edu. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. This is where everybody goes to get their super comp, super gas license, top alcohol, funny car license, located Gainesville Raceway, Gainesville, Florida, Frank and Lana Hawley. But they've got something that goes around the country called the Dragster Adventure. They bring dragsters, you race dragsters, and you don't need anything. You just show up. To me, that's like what you should plan on doing when this is all over. Really cool stuff. And of course, Magic Dry, Scott Palmer really was on the show last Friday, Friday Cocktails. We've got a Friday Cocktails coming up. Tommy Johnson Jr. and Kathy Fisher. Everybody that is on it, myself included, are connected to Performance TV on Motor Trend, 8:30 a.m. Sunday morning. It's going to be like a reunion. Tommy, you're going to talk funny cars. And then Kathy will talk 5-second top dragsters, even though you can't go that quick anymore. Last week it was Scott Palmer, MagicDryUS.com. And I want to give a shout out to Steve Brenwald Media, doing all our artwork here on WFO Radio and very helpful. He worked at a sign shop. They blew him out. He's like old, you know, I don't want to say all that stuff, but the bottom line is he is a good person, graphic arts, very talented. And if you need any work, he can definitely take care of it. Now, final thoughts. I thought Evan was fantastic. Evan Smith. And did excellent work. I thought Eric was fantastic. And this is what it's all about. If you are interested in a WFO Radio t-shirt, that's the artwork that is on the back. And Randy Len says I'm going to have these real soon. I can't wait to see it. But go to nitrofishracing.com and get yourself a WFO Radio t-shirt. That helps me directly. And of course, Nitro Fish and Randy Len and Bo Butner doing excellent work there. And I just want to say thanks to all the listeners out there, everybody who has supported the show over the years. And I got some comments on the tree. And this tree in the background has been in my bar/lounge for many, many years. I took that tree out of the base of the Miami Hollywood Speedway Tower after the last drag race in 1992. It was given to me by Dick Moroso because it was just junk that was in the bottom of the tower. I was the track announcer then. And it was so sad to lose our track. And so I took it home and I sandblasted it at Ernie McDaniel Race Cars in Davie, Florida. And I painted it. I put it back together. And I used it for a while. And it's been in my bar. And my friends who don't know anything about drag racing don't care about it at all. And I see it there. And I decided now that we're doing these live shows, I need to break it out. And so I went over there and I broke it out. And now it is there. But what good is a tree if it doesn't work? And so now, since there's the craze of everybody on the practice trees, I'm in on it too. 505, baby. Yeah, my final round 2 practice tree is in effect as well. So I can have a little fun with everybody else. Not late. 16. And there you have it. So tomorrow we'll be back, 4 p.m. Kathy Fisher, hopefully Kathy, and Tommy Johnson Jr. will be having cocktails and having fun and enjoying ourselves and talking about life and talking about fun. You are welcome to join. Hopefully start a watch party. I was supposed to stream this on Instagram as well, but it didn't work out. We'll get it tomorrow. Thanks to everybody who weighed in on the show. Thanks to our guests. Good job, Justin. Remember, KN95masks.com or Gmail. You go back and watch. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. We'll see you next time right here on WFO Radio.